Good morning, students. Let us continue the chapter, that is 16th group elements. Now we are discussing about compounds, important compounds of oxygen. So under that, the first one is dioxygen or simply O2. Oxygen also you can call, right? Dioxygen O2. Similarly, we have learnt in the 15th group elements dinitrogen. Right, so like that only. So for any important compounds, we will learn about preparation, properties and its uses. Right. So first, it's preparation. How it is prepared? Generally, you might have thinking that why oxygen has to be prepared. Oxygen is available in the nature itself, right? Yes, you are correct. In nature only, oxygen is available 28% by its volume, right? And 78 and 21%. Still, if we want to prepare it, these are the methods. So, by heating oxygen containing salts, these are the salts, KClO3, by heating in the presence of some catalyst, or this also by heating will produces our dioxygen. And thermal decomposition, again heating it, say metal oxides. Silver is a metal oxide, silver oxide, Ag2O. On heating, it will convert silver and oxygen will be liberated, gas, right? So, G is for gas, it will be liberated. So, that is why we prepared. In large scale, this is important, large scale, this you might have already studied, right? In large scale, we will synthesize oxygen, dioxygen by electrolysis of water. What do you mean by electrolysis? Lysis means breakdown. Electro means electricity. By supplying the electricity, we are breaking the water. This water on electrolysis produces H2 gas and O2 gas. H2 gas is produced at cathode and O2 gas is produced at the anode. You might be knowing what is electrolysis. In 9th or 10th class, you have studied about this, right? And simply by in air only, as we are discussing, in air only we will have good amount of oxygen, right? If we take the air and first remove the carbon dioxide and water vapor present in it, then liquefy it. That means compress that air gas. Then the remaining gases will evaporate. Only oxygen and nitrogen will liquefy, and that after fractional distillation, we will get pure oxygen O2 and N2, and based on their mass we can separate even these two, O2 and N2. So here are the different methods of preparation of your dioxygen. Then properties of oxygen. So it is it's soluble in water, you know. So dissolved oxygen is very much useful for the respiration of aquatic animals. Aquatic means water. In water the animals are present. All animals will take the oxygen from the dissolved oxygen from water, right? And it is a colorless, odorless gas, odorless gas. And oxygen has 3 different isotopes. Isotopes means atomic number same but mass number different. Isn't it? Carbon we have learned C12, C13, C14. Similarly, oxygen also shows 3 different isotopes, atomic number same but bearing the different mass number, O16, O17, O18. So abundant is O16, just like C12 is abundant, right? And O2 is paramagnetic nature. Why it is paramagnetic in nature in spite of even number of electrons? Because you might have studied about the molecular orbital theory. MOT. According to MOT, 2 electrons are unpaired in the antibonding molecular orbital. Because of this unpaired electrons, it gains paramagnetic nature. This you might have studied in the first year. Look at here. This is what you have used to draw. 1s2, 2s2. 1s2 antibonding molecular orbital and bonding molecular orbital. This is 1s2 and this is your 2s2, 2s2 star, this is star, and this is 2p x2, 2p y2 and antibonding molecular orbitals, right? So here pi star 2p. So 2 electrons in oxygen, this is oxygen, right? So in oxygen 2 electrons are unpaired. So due to the unpaired electron, We will say that according to molecular orbital theory, if they are unpaired, we call it to be paramagnetic nature. If it is paired, we say it to be, here in this nitrogen, all are paired up. In fluorine, all are paired up. Then we call them diamagnetic, isn't it? Okay. Then we will study about the chemical properties. Actually, these are your simple physical properties like. Correct. Now, chemical properties means how they react with the other elements. If you observe from all the groups we are studying till now, we have studied that those particular group elements reaction with oxygen, isn't it? That means all metals, non-metals will react with the oxygen, because we are talking about oxygen, right? So, but except gold, platinum and noble gases, because these are inert gases or inert elements. Due to this inertness, they won't react with the oxygen. But all other elements of the periodic table, because most of the elements in the periodic table are metals, other are non-metals. So, all will react with the oxygen to form their respective oxides, isn't it? First, let us see. See, these are all your metals. See, first calcium, aluminium, zinc. Calcium, aluminium, they are the calcium is S block element, aluminium is P block element, zinc is your D block element. I said no, whenever you see the element, you must remember its position in the periodic table. Okay, so when calcium reacts with oxygen, it will form calcium oxide, isn't it? Aluminium reacts with oxygen to form aluminium oxide. Zinc sulfide reacts with sulfide. This is zinc sulfide. React with oxygen to form zinc oxide. Okay, then these are the non-metals, because I said no, oxygen reacts with metals and non-metals, and these are my non-metals. Where are the non-metals? Mostly present in your P block element, right? So carbon is the 4th group element or 14th group of the periodic table. When react with the carbon dioxide CO2, it will form carbon dioxide. Then methane. This we have studied in the hydrocarbons chapter. Methane oxidizes to form carbon dioxide, and this is actually a combustion reaction. Combustion reaction is one in which organic compound, when reacted with oxygen, completely decomposes to respective carbon dioxide and water molecules. It depends on number of carbons and hydrogen present in that molecule. The number of carbon dioxide and water molecule will form, and it will consume the number of oxygen molecules too. Right? We have studied there very detail. Then also reacts with P4, reacts with oxygen to form P4O10, phosphorus oxide, or P2O5. Also we can write. Okay, so these are non-metals react with oxygen, and these are metals react with the oxygen to form their respective oxides. And some compounds are catalytically oxidized. See here, we just said just by reaction of this, these respective oxides are formed. But there are some compounds in which we require a catalyst to form their respective oxide. Means in order to enhance the rate of the reaction. For example, sulfur dioxide, already oxygen is there in it. Still one more oxide can add on to it. That means sulfur dioxide, SO2, reacts with oxygen in the presence of vanadium pentoxide, V2O5, produces sulfur trioxide. So for this, simply if we react, it won't react. Therefore, we definitely require this catalyst. Under the presence of this catalyst only, we will form the sulfur trioxide. This is very, very important, because this useful reaction in our preparation of sulfuric acid. Again, we will get this in later classes. Then again, HCl, hydrochloric acid, reacts with dioxygen under the presence of cupric chloride. CuCl2 is cupric chloride, CuCl is cuprous chloride. So it will form Cl2 and water. And also you know very well about the uses of this dioxygen. I no need to tell you that this is a very important life. Without oxygen there is no life, right? Respiration, it is useful, and it's used in the hospitals and mountaineers. See, if you imagine there is no oxygen we have synthesized or we can capture, we cannot even use in hospitals to save their lives or climb the mountains or skew divers inside the water to go also, we will use the oxygen cylinders. Also, acetylene welding. So, oxyacetylene welding means acetylene preparation also we require. Welding you might have seen, right? Very high oxygen itself is inflammable, right? Useful for the flame. So in oxyacetylene welding also dioxygen is used, and in metallurgy also we use the dioxygen. Okay, next compound is ozone. We have again heard about this and knew about its structure and all, right? Ozone, O3. It is an allotropic form of oxygen. What is an allotropic form? Other form of oxygen, right? So it protects a very, very, very essential role it plays in our nature, that it protects the earth from the UV radiation, right? Let us see preparation. Again, I said no, any compound, preparation, properties and uses we will learn. So preparation, simply atmospheric oxygen. If we take the UV light, it will be converted into your ozone. And again, oxygen on electric discharge also produces O3 to prevent decomposition, because actually ozone is very less stable. Is very, very, very less stable when compared to O2, right? So very less stable than compared to O2. That's why it's very difficult for its synthesis. So that's why electric discharge tube and something different precautions we have to take to prepare this ozone. Now properties that pure ozone is pale blue color, that is in gas state. But if it is in liquid state, it is dark blue. If it is solid, it is violet black. Different colors it will exhibits. Then coming to the chemical properties. Ozone is a powerful oxidizing agent. Please remember, you may get this one in your MCQs, right? Ozone is dash, reducing agent, oxidizing agent, neutral agent, like that. So it's an oxidizing agent. What does it mean by oxidizing agent? It donates the oxygen. That means it itself undergo reduction. See, what is reduction? Oxygen donation is reduction. Hydrogen acceptance is reduction. All different three definitions you have to remember about oxidation reduction. Wherever it is useful, we use that. See, for example, in this reaction, ozone on heating produces dioxygen and nascent oxygen. Nascent oxygen means single oxygen is called as nascent oxygen. So as oxygen is liberated, we call it to be reduced. This ozone got reduced, right? So therefore it is oxidizing agent. Reverse, it oxidizes the other compound. That means if this oxygen is taken by other compound, it gets oxidized, but itself gets reduced. So itself gets reduced is called oxidizing agent. Because having more excess oxygen, it can easily donate, right? When oxygen donates, we call it to be reduction. Very simple. Oxidizing agent. Then lead sulfide. Please make a note. This is your lead sulfide. Reacts with oxygen to form lead sulfate and oxygen. So as oxygen is liberated, I call it to be reduction, and I call it to be oxidizing agent. Now, Ki, potassium iodide, reacts with water and ozone to produce KOH, I2 and O2. This I2 is again estimated with your sodium thiosulfate Na2S2O3. This is titration you have learned in your laboratory, right? Volumetric analysis. By using volumetric analysis, we can identify the amount of iodine produced in this, right? So estimation we will use in this ozone is required. Quantitative estimation of ozone we can do here. And silver reacts with ozone to form silver oxide and oxygen is liberated. Again, it is your oxidizing agent property, isn't it? Then the other properties are mercury. Ozone reacts with the mercury to form mercurous oxide, Ag2O. Mercurous oxide and O2. Mercury loses its meniscus. In this, for example, in the test tube, if you observe mercury. Mercury is not sticky. It won't stick to the walls. In thermometer also you can observe. It's like a drop. Dew like, drop like it will be. It won't touch to the glass tube. But when react with this mercury, it will form mercurous oxide, and here it loses this meniscus and stick to the walls of the test tube. And this is called tailing of mercury. Just this property. Don't worry. Then ozonolysis, again this we have read very clearly in hydrocarbons, right? I have said already. Just simply break when react with oxygen, give to this one, give to this one. Ozone when reacts with alkenes produces carbonyl compounds, right? Carbonyl compounds. Again, how the mechanism is, one oxygen here, two oxygens here. So this is my CH2 as it is. CH2 and CH2. Here is one oxygen. Carbon should not exceed its bonds. Two here, two bonds here, 4. So this one, and here what happens? Look at. Here happens like this. Right. So this bond will be broken up and given to this. This bond is broke. That means this compound is formed. What is this compound? HCOH. Right. This is what? HC double bond OH. That is your acetaldehyde. So two molecules of acetaldehyde is going to be formed. Aldehyde is a carbonyl compound, right? This, please get back to your hydrocarbons with mechanism and all we have explained, right? Then depletion of ozone. You know that this we are learning about depletion of ozone in environmental studies, in many natural issues also we came across this depletion of ozone. What are the adverse effects of this and why it is happening? Greenhouse effect and all, right? So production of NO in large quantity from the jet airplanes and freons refrigerators. This react with the ozone to form NO2 and O2. So that's why this ozone layer which is present around the earth is going to be slowly depleted. So that means a concentration of ozone is decreasing. If it is decreasing, it cannot stop the UV rays and it will come onto the earth, right? It's very adverse effects if you deplete the ozone layer. Then structure of O3. How to write 3 oxygens? Look at 1, 2, 3. Generally I said oxygen bears only 2 bonds, isn't it? See, if oxygen bears 2 bonds, then what happens? It should have 2 lone pairs. Why? Because it's oxygen's electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p4. If this is finished, this is completely there inside. Now outer electronic configuration, 6 electrons we have to count. So 2 electrons present here and 2 electrons present here, and here single electrons. So this single electron will form a bond with other oxygen, therefore covalent bonds, right? Then this is present as a lone pair and this present as the lone pair. This is one lone pair and another lone pair. This is first lone pair, this is second lone pair, like this. But when oxygen gets another bond, means what? It gets the positive charge because it gives off this lone pair of electron to it to form a bond and gets the positive charge, and again remaining to it will form a bond. And now as this oxygen got the electron from this gains the negative charge along with its 2 lone pair, because this no need to give any electron to form a bond because this oxygen itself has given 2 electrons. Coordinate covalent bond, you have done that like that. Similarly, not only this, sometimes even if these electrons are given to this, these electrons to given to this. Therefore, this electron can get, again, look at this get the lone pair, 2 lone pair of electron, this get the positive charge, this get the negative charge. So, this is angular structure. The bond angle is 117 degrees and the bond length is 128 picometers. Right. And the uses, it's very important, using the germicide, that means kills the germs, insects, and it's sterilizing the water. Because in water, if any germs and all present can also be removed. Anyhow, it's work as a germicide and insecticide, right? It's a powerful oxidizing agent. Just now we have learned. And the bleaching of oils and starch. Bleaching agent means it removes the oils. Removal purpose can be used. This is about the ozone and other important compounds of the oxygen. So we left with only one topic, that is important compound of sulfur. Okay, so next topic is oxides. Different oxides has given. So I tried to simplify in this way. Types of acids. First we'll generalize the types of acids. From that I will tell you from our 16th group elements what are the different type of oxides can be formed. First, oxides can be broadly classified into two types. One is simple oxides and one is mixed oxides. Till now whatever you might have mostly used is simple oxides. That means it contains only one oxide, SO2, SO3, whatever. But mixed oxides, the best examples are Fe3O4 and lead oxide, Pb3O4. In this Fe3O4 actually it contains FeO and Fe2O, Fe2O3, right? FeO and Fe2O3 are the two different oxides present to form your iron oxide. So that's why it's called as mixed oxides. Then we can further classify the simple oxides into four different classes. One is acidic oxide, basic oxide, neutral oxide, amphoteric oxide. See, these are not completely new to you. You might have studied, we came across somewhere else also. But I kept all together one place because almost all we are discussing in this chapter or in this part. Okay. So first, acidic oxides. In general definition is what? If an oxide dissolves in water to produces acid, then that respective oxide is called as acidic oxide. The same for the basic oxide. Any oxide, if it reacts with the water and produces the base, then we call it to be basic oxide. And if it is neither produces an acid nor produces a base, then it is called as neutral. Please make a note, there is a lot of difference between neutral and amphoteric. Amphoteric acid is that which shows acidic nature and basic nature. But whereas neutral oxide, it neither acid nor base. The best example, carbon monoxide, nitrogen monoxide, nitrous oxide, N2O. Right? So here amphoteric oxide is the best example, Al2O3. Right? That means it shows acidic nature and it shows the basic nature. First, let us move on to the acidic oxides again. So acidic oxides. Non-metal oxides belongs mostly to the acidic oxides. So it's carbon dioxide. See, all are oxides we are talking, right? Because oxygen is belong to our 16th group element. That's why talking about the oxygen. So non-metal oxides. CO2, N2O5, P2O5, SO2, sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide. Why these are non-metals? These are P block elements, right? Carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur. These are all P block elements, right? See, P block means you should get in your mind periodic table and where your that particular carbon belongs to 14th group, nitrogen 15th group, sulfur 16th group. That all should get in your mind. Then you will understand easily. So these all oxides on reaction with water produces their respective acid. For example, sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide when reacted with water produces H2SO3. Right? So this is an acid. As it is an acid, therefore I call my sulfur dioxide as a acidic oxide. By looking at, we cannot say whether it is acidic oxide or basic oxide. It should react with water and respective what is the product it is forming, it depends, right? Then if oxidation state is more, then it shows the acidic nature. Look at vanadium pentoxide, chromium trioxide, Mn2O7. In vanadium pentoxide, V2O5. Oxygen general oxidation state is 2. So 5 2s are 10. Therefore, each vanadium takes plus 5 in order to neutralize, right? Minus charges should be neutralized with the plus charge. I hope you know how to calculate the oxidation states. So here is how calculate, and this is the plus 5. Plus 5 plus 6 higher oxidation state only, right? So it is saying that one hint indirectly by looking at, we can also say chromium trioxide. Chromic acid it will produce, right? It is having plus 6 oxidation state. It is very high oxidation number, right? Manganese dioxide. What is manganese dioxide? See, manganese oxide. See, this is 7. 7, oxygen is 2. Therefore, 14. 14 is oxidation state of oxygen here. Then manganese should be plus 7 because 2 manganese are there. 7, 7, 14. This is minus, right? 14 is there. In order to neutralize 7 it is. High oxidation state. Therefore, this is also acidic oxide. Then coming to the basic oxide, metal oxides are the basic oxides. Again, non-metal oxides, acidic means definitely metal oxides should be basic. Vice versa, right? So, what are the metals? Where are the metals present? Metals are present in first year group element, second year group element, and zero group element, your D block elements, right? Our first year group element sodium, Na2O. Magnesium, second year group element, magnesium oxide, calcium oxide. So, how it became basic? Look at this. When magnesium oxide reacted with water produces magnesium hydroxide. Magnesium hydroxide. Hydroxide, you know, OH minus. Any compound produces OH minus ions is called basic nature according to your Arrhenius theory, right? Acids and bases. So OH producer is in a base. Therefore, as it is produced basic, my metal oxides are basic oxides. Okay. So here there is no reaction of this. And now amphoteric oxide. Look at here itself. I wrote the reaction. Aluminium oxide on reaction with HCl and water produced aluminium hexa aqua complex. Don't worry about this. If I write this square bracket like this indicates that this is the complex. We'll read in the next chapters. See, aluminium hexa, 6 oxygens are water are there. So hexa aqua aluminium 3. This is called complex. So this is in, and chloride minus ions is going to be formed here. And this is basic in nature. This is acidic in nature and this is basic in nature. So it shows the both, so it can react with the acid and it also can react with the base. So it is amphoteric in nature.